Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. Today's theme is challenging NFL records, because fairly soon here, we're going to be getting back into the NFL. Today's guests, plural, we have two of them, Darren Lancaster and Tom Zheng of Go Sleeves. And I'll give you a little background of how I met them, which is really the first time today. But Steve Baker, our sports agent aficionado, had suggested I call or get in touch with Darren because I've got a lateral meniscus tear, and Darren has a special kinesiology sleeve that the athletes wear, and so he sent one to me to try it out. I thought, okay, this is kind of cool. I don't have to worry about putting tape on it and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that in the next segment here. So Tom is a PhD in human health, performance, and organizational leadership. He also holds a master's in applied exercise science and kinesiology. His 9 years as a health and sports scientist are highlighted by his tenure as the performance therapist for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll definitely have to ask Tom about that. He's the founder of Adapt Health and Performance, a venture committed to revolutionizing health and performance in the athletic sphere. He also serves as chairman for Players Only Network, a platform aimed at helping athletes develop and monetize their brands. And as an advisor for Go Sleeves, which is where we're going to have Darren be coming in here, creators of the world's only kinesiology sleeve, which I got to say is really interesting because this sleeve, I've been wearing it now, off and on, and it's got this tape inside of it, which is kind of cool. So we'll get into that. All right. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments yielding over 7%, secured by real estate. Doesn't get any more conservative than them. Check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown along with Russell Jackman. I'm going to introduce our guests. I already gave Tom's bio, but I'm going to read a little bit of Darren's here. Darren Lancaster has been an entrepreneur and business innovator for over 20 years. The first startup Darren co-founded was acquired by Nokia in 1999 for $57 million, which back then, $57 million was a lot of money. now that and a cup of coffee will get you on the subway. Since then, Darren has co-founded 4 additional businesses, including Thin Optics, the only fold flat reading glasses that fit in the back of your mobile phone. That's really cool. Thin Optics became the #1 selling reading glasses product in the U.S. market, sold in over 170 countries. Darren's business ventures, revenue and enterprise values total over $250 million. And in 2019, Darren joined forces with longtime friend Roy Carrillo to found Go Sleeves, the world's only kinesiology sleeves. Hey guys, Darren and Tom, welcome to Sports Econ 101. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Good. We got our audios excellent now. So the audience can't see it, but if they're watching YouTube, they can, but on the air, they can't. And so tell us, guys, a little bit about this special sleeve, because I think we all have been familiar with kinesiology tape. Actually, maybe kind of go back to the original, like the kinesiology tape and how this sleeve came into existence.
Yeah. I guess I'll let Tom give the background on kinesiology tape, and then I'll give the background on how it happened to be brought into the sleeves, because Tom's been a practitioner in kinesiology taping for many years. So yeah, Tom, give that background if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So kinesiology tape is one of my favorite applications for a couple of different things. So you can use it a lot of different ways, as well as I'm sure we're all aware there's many different brands. But the principles I particularly like about it is, and especially how I apply it, I run it along what's called your fascial chains, as well as what your muscular striation is. So basically, think your calf muscle, right? Your calf muscles point downward. So basically, the application of the KT tape would be at the heel bone going up into the calf. so that it provides almost a faux layer of support for that calf so that it's more stable and you feel less of the, what's a good word, instability or pain associated with it. Another benefit it might have is it lifts the skin slightly above what's called your nociceptors. Those are receptors for pain. It also allows, now that the skin is a little lifted, it also allows more fluid to pass through that portion so that it helps with edema or swelling.
Yeah, when did that start? Because you notice on mostly, excuse me, like on football players, you'd see this kind of interesting tape, on their elbows, and running up their calves and stuff like that. Well, when did that start?
I'm not exactly sure the exact date of where it started or when it started, but I did start noticing it in the Olympics about maybe like almost 12 years ago now. So two Olympics ago, volleyball players would have it attached to their shoulders because there's a lot of wear and tear and a lot of bursitis associated with that. And I think anytime, particularly when you see a cool thing as a practitioner, you go, hey, what is that? I kind of want to take a look at that. So by word of mouth, most likely it just spread, as well as your brands like KT tape, Rock tape, Spartan tape, whatever, right, in development.
And I can jump in. It's actually been around since the 70s. So kinesiology taping as a science and a practice has been around for a bit, about 50 years.
Yeah, because like now you see a lot of the cupping, I guess, and you see these guys that look like have all kinds of interesting welts on their back. Is it kind of along a little bit of the same kind of thing? Because the cupping does what? It like separates the.
So a little bit. So think of like when you apply the KT tape, it's different than your regular athletic tape, right? It doesn't harness the immobility of the joint. So if you ever had your ankles taped or your wrist taped, usually it's for immobilization of the joint. But KT tape functions on the other side of giving your brain a little bit of a sensor so that it's more aware of the joint, so you can naturally develop more stability or awareness in that joint, right? The other aspect is it lifts the skin a little bit, so you get more fluid passing through, so that helps with the swelling. Cupping is something a little different, but also similar lines in terms of the circulation aspect. It basically brings up a lot of the what's called metabolic waste, or if you can say in the the holistic term, bad blood, or traditional Chinese medicine term, right? It pulls out all of those waste products and it basically helps that specific area that's really tight, sore, or painful recover a little better and return to a normal tone.
So let me ask you, is basically the kinesiology tape, is it designed for just short-term pain reduction? I mean, it doesn't heal anything, does it? Or is it just designed, like I said, it's just designed to just sort of like assist?
Yes and no, right? Okay. So in the short term, yeah, it definitely does assist with kind of what I mentioned, the stability aspect, the swelling aspect. But over time, your body is really good at adapting to things. So as you have less aches, have less sores, you move a little differently, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so as you kind of build those better movement patterns over time, your body actually adapts it. So you can make an argument in saying that it actually helps you become a better mover.
Gotcha. Okay. We've got a couple of minutes here before we get to break, because the main reason that we're here is to kind of shift over from the tape part over to the Go sleeves, which, just in theory, it just sounds so much easier than, taking a bunch of tape, because once you do the tape, you got to throw it away afterward, I assume, right? You can't keep using the same kinesiology tape.
It's not just throwing it away. It's knowing how to put it on properly. So if you don't have a Dr. Tom Zheng at your fingertips, knowing not just where to put it, but the tape is stretchy. So
I thought when I bought kinesiology tape, Tom comes with it. For everyone out there who buys tape, gets Tom with them.
If you go pull that off CVS, there's no Tom inside, unfortunately.
No Tom inside.
Yeah.
So, hey, Russell, did you want to ask any quick questions before we get to a break here? Oh, okay. Sometimes Russell has to come in and out, so he's probably just kind of listening right now. It's really interesting. So Steve Baker, the reason we have the guys on is that Steve Baker and I went out to coffee, and we just happened to be talking. I noticed his knees. He had some operations on him, and I said, yeah, and I got this lateral meniscus tear. I think probably because doing squats or something incorrectly. And I had an MRI done it on it, and sure enough, it was, because it's like gets to a point where you go, ow, and you can only have so many cortisone shots. He says, well, let me put me in touch with my friend Darren, and he's got this special kind of kinesiology tape sleeve. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. Let's talk about it. And since it's kind of sports related, we'll have these guys on as guests. Okay.
So I had a question, which is, what famous athletes do you have that are using it right now?
Okay, and before you tell you, we're gonna come into we have to go to a break. Remember that question, because we had to cut to break, and we're gonna answer that, or have Tom answer that when we come back, and Darren as well. Okay, first trivia question. We're talking challenging NFL records. 2 players shared a record for playing their entire 20-year season or 20-season career with only one team. One player was Jackie Slater of the Rams, who tied his record when he retired after the 2002 season. So he played from 1983 to 2002. That's our trivia question, all right? Who's that other player? Played 20 seasons with the same team, which nowadays is really a challenge, I tell you. Okay, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101 one more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman, our special guest, Tom Zheng, and Darren Lancaster, talking about Go Sleeves kinesiology tape type product. But before we do, let's go to our trivia question. 2 players shared a record for playing their entire 20-season career with only one team. One player was Jackie Slater of the Rams, who tied his record when he retired after the 2002 season. So what other player played 20 seasons? Okay, Tom, what's the answer?
Sebastian Janikowski.
No,
I'm going to guess Emmitt Smith.
No. The answer is Darryl Green with the Washington Redskins at the time.
Wow.
Redskins, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so Russell, you're asking Tom a question about athletes and the kinesiology.
Yeah, what famous athletes have used your kinesio sleeve?
Well, as a practitioner, I can't go into specifics on that just because of player relations, but I can tell you that it is in multiple teams pertaining to the players that play for them. And I think Darren can elaborate on that one.
Yeah, I mean, to Tom's point, the players themselves will kind of reveal themselves when they're ready. It's really not kind of a ethical practice for us to do that. But if you pop on our Instagram, Go Sleeves Instagram, you'll see Omar Gonzalez, who's been really one of the best center backs in MLS for more than a decade now with the New England Revolution. Just yesterday posted about the Go Sleeves and the amazing experience he's been having with them. We have a number of Olympian runners and Team USA runners. So one of the top trail runners in the world for a long time now, Joe Gray, has been a long time user. We've had a UFC fighter fight in the knee sleeves as he was coming back from his ACL recovery. Nico Hybrid Price, if you've heard of him. So quite a lot of different, I would say, not necessarily mainstream athletes. We're just getting our way into the mainstream sports now. And you're going to hear a lot more this year as we go into the year. Lots of D1 colleges that are starting to leverage the technology into their programs. And as Tom said, professional teams as well.
So Darren, let's get into that with you. What was the inspiration for Go Sleeves? Explain what Go Sleeves is, and then what was the inspiration, and how did you and Roy come up with the idea?
Yeah, I mean, simple idea, really. It's taking that kinesiology taping technology that's, as you said, hard to use, hard to put on. It's wasteful and just kind of not a great idea at this point, but a very good technology, very, very therapeutic, helpful and beneficial technology and building it into a compression sleeve that's reusable. So in your case, Edward, because Tom didn't come in the box, you got the Go sleeves. You were able to pull the sleeve on and get the stretch on your skin yourself without having a PhD to do it.
Yep.
And so you get the benefit of the taping in and around the knee, all the key muscles, ligaments, and tendons in and around the knee. Yep, there it is. I see it. Yep. So you're getting the benefits of that kinesiology taping, but just by being able to pull on a simple sleeve. And so, it really depends on the use case, right? The use cases vary from whether I'm a veteran who maybe botched up my knees in my service, military service, but I'm trying to just be active in CrossFit, active in running, active in pickleball, but I've got tendonitis, I've got arthritis, just dealing with the pain, the support, any swelling or inflammation, really beneficial there. As a professional athlete, a lot of times it's more about on the proactive side, just dealing with recovery every day. These guys and gals, the volume that professional athletes put in every day is so extreme. And so if we're able to get some of the inflammation, fatigue, tightness out of the body every day, then they're kind of coming back the next day ready to perform and at a lower risk of injury.
Do any athletes use it while they're actually performing so they actually, like, let's say a football player actually is wearing it on the football field at the time he's playing?
Yeah, it depends on the athlete and their use case. So most will use it for recovery, for sure. But yeah, absolutely. If let's say your Achilles heel, if you will, is literally your Achilles. If the Achilles is the challenge that you have, or the calf muscle is always tight, then you're probably going to train and play in the sleeves as well, because it's a little bit of added insurance policy, if you will, where your body might be vulnerable. But more than anything, it's just about trying to keep all that inflammation, fatigue, and tightness at a minimum. So, but to your point of where it came from, it was out of greed.
I guess
my buddy Roy and I playing basketball together for many years, and especially Roy, he played pro ball in the Philippines for a bit, and he just, he's always aching, and he's either popping pills or trying every kind of sleeve or brace or whatever, and you really don't want to brace on your knee to kind of immobilize it if you're healthy, right? Yeah. But kinesiology tape and compression sleeves was something he experimented with. He's had some success with it. And so we started literally taping up his mannequin in the garage here in San Jose and created some sleeve prototypes, put them on our brothers on the basketball court, said, hey, try these out. You're, welcome to being a guinea pig. And
as my Jewish grandmother would say, it couldn't wait. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So no, it literally came out of the garage, and then we launched it in January 2020, right in time for the pandemic, and so that was fun. But here we are.
Wow, because inside you actually have, not every part of the inside has tape on it, only certain parts. So
exactly, yeah. So that's the inside. The inside is in, I guess if you're on YouTube, you can see my screen. You see the inside the sleeve, there's this medical grade silicone. And to your point, the design mimics Tom in the box, if he were available to you. And he said, hey, Tom, tape up all the key muscles, the ligaments and tendons around my knee, right? In the most sort of generally usable pattern. And that's what's in here. And so when you pull it on and you stretch it, then you're stretching the tape, the silicone, just like tape would be across your skin. And the more you stretch it, the more you're opening up the skin tissues, creating space in the skin tissues, and getting benefits of added circulation and lymphatic drainage, like Tom was saying.
How often are you supposed to wash it? And how long will it last, generally speaking?
You can wash it with your gear, right? Whatever you train, run, CrossFit, pickleball in, just wash it and air dry it. And in that kind of normal use, it'll last a real good long time. I mean, well more than a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Tom, how did you get in contact with Darren?
Well, that's an interesting story. So a couple of months ago, I actually got Go sleeves proposed to me in the same week. Once by Ben Garland, who's a former offensive lineman in the NFL, as well as my lawyer. His name is Miles. Yeah, they both sent me the information as well as the deck and connected me with Darren in the same week, a couple days apart from each other. So I was either thinking, hey, this has to be a phenomenal product, or it's a test of fate or something, or a good mix of both. So needless to say, I was extremely interested. And after talking to Darren, I was a firm believer of the product. And after trying it out, particularly the cap sleeves, I can't be happier.
Very cool. I really like that. And let's see here. So Darren, how have sales been since you launched? I know you said, unfortunately, the pandemic kind of changed things a bit, at least in the beginning. How's it going now?
Yeah, I mean, once 2021 swung around and we really started honing in on runners, triathletes, professional runners, really took off. And the challenge we have now is selling out. So if you're on our site now, you're probably seeing, wow, they may not have the color or the size exactly that I need. And so, you know, we're always kind of chasing, building up inventory to keep up with the demand. So it's been good, but we need to get ahead of the curve now. And that's, you know, every new company has these challenges, right? To fund ahead of your sales. So
well, I think that I think their sales will probably be logarithmic, because as the more people who wear it, the more people will ask, the more people will wear it. You know, it'll just be a constant thing. And then I assume you have a patent on it.
Yeah, we have a patent that covers the application of kinesiology to apparel in general. So and a little bit broader space than that. But yeah, we're definitely aiming to be the world's only kinesiology sleeves and keep it that way for a bit.
I wonder if you would be like, if there's a synergy between you and the kinesiology tape industry, like maybe you might be ready to get bought out by one of them.
Well, ironically, the kinesiology tape market segment globally is not that big. It's $500 million. And I think it's because of the challenges of applying kinesiology tape. Whereas the other, you know, if you say we're a 2-in-1 of compression sleeves and kinesiology tape, the other component, compression sleeves, is an 8 times bigger market, so about a $4 billion market. So when you think about applying kinesiology tape to sleeves and then eventually apparel, it's probably going to be the other way around at some point.
Maybe, but I can see that. You know,
is a much bigger potential than the entire kinesiology tape market.
Okay, we got to cut to a quick break. Here's our trivia question. Which running back rushed for over 1,000 yards in a season 11 times in his career? Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Russell Jackman, my co-host, and our special guests, Darren Lancaster and Tom Zheng. Second trivia question, guys. Which running back rushed for over 1,000 yards in a season 11 times in his career?
I'll say Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders, no.
Adrian Peterson.
Marcus Allen.
No. So, Russell, what was your guess on the previous question?
Oh, Emmitt Smith.
Yes, Emmitt Smith. Yeah,
oh.
Nice. Wow. So, guys, we're just finishing up here talking about the Ghost sleeves. You know, I think that it's like when I walk into, you know, Walgreens or whatever, you know, you see a lot of compression sleeves by themselves, and as just a generic consumer, it seems a lot easier. Yeah, sure, I'll just put on a sleeve versus, okay, I got to keep on putting this tape on and off and off and on. So that's why I would think that, you know, you guys, your business should take off pretty, you know, again, the more people who know about it. I mean, I'm looking at this and going, like, what are the downsides? I don't, you know, you're not making any medical promises or anything, but if you're basically saying, hey, here's a 2-for-1, you know, right? Hey, I'm a salesman. You can hire me. You know,
you're in
on that. Ashley, go ahead, Darren.
We need to put Edward in the box then.
Edward comes in every box. Yeah. No, it's been
no,
very interesting. Go ahead.
You're right. There's no real downside. I mean, when we're just helping the body do what it does naturally, but more effectively, which is circulation and drainage, there's really no downside there. And the only quote warning, if you will, to new users that we provide is the skin stretch that you're going to feel is different, and your skin may need to acclimate to that stretch. And if you have sensitive skin, you may have to sort of build up time in the Go sleeves to get to a point where, just last week I heard about one of the rookie 49ers who's sleeping in the sleeves, and that is entirely possible, but it may take a week to get there.
Gotcha. Where do people buy it right now, or where can they buy it?
Online, GoSleeves.com. There's a number of independent run stores that sell it from a retail perspective. But yeah, those channels, the bigger channels, are what we'll be working on next year.
All right, great, guys. Yeah. Stay with us. Hey, Russell, were there any specific topics you wanted to cover sports-wise?
Not immediately. It's one of those slower times of the year sports-wise. So maybe the giant slide is probably the biggest thing of note to me right now.
Yeah, I was bringing, it's funny. I was thinking I was going to bring up this one little topic, and I remembered you guys were talking about soccer players, wearing go sleeves, and I'm thinking you got to get in touch with Mbappe. I guess you pronounce his name. He just signed a $445 million contract to play for Saudi Arabia. Can you imagine making almost $500 million? That's like the whole kinesiology tape business, right?
It's really crazy, and he just needs to spend a couple $100 to protect his investment on some.
I don't know if that's worth it. Is it worth to pay $200 to save $444 million? Yeah, it probably is.
I'm no mathematician, but I'm down with it.
Okay. I wanted to bring up this one kind of interesting thing here. Seattle Mariners fans were upset because the Mariners store, when you go to the baseball field, they'll have their own store. They stocked up with Blue Jays uniforms for an upcoming series, which kind of makes sense because you're going to get both teams fans at games, especially since, Seattle's a little closer to the border anyway. But for some reason, the Seattle Mariners fans were like upset. I mean, it's almost like, they're almost making it like, if Giants store was selling Dodger uniforms or something, but there's no real rivalry between the Mariners and the Blue Jays, not that I know of. I mean,
what look, if you're a Mariners fan, you got bigger problems.
Yeah. That's
no,
true.
I'm just saying, like historically, if I'm a Mariners fan, I might have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Was it 1996? Was that the one they won 114 games and didn't beat the Yankees? Sorry to bring it up there. And did you grow up in the area?
No. It's just there's certain franchises where I feel sorry for the lifelong fan.
Right? Gotcha.
It's a rough ride, right?
Ken Griffey Jr. never really, he played. He's awesome, he's a Hall of Famer, but one of those guys who just never got to play. I think Rod Carew was one of those guys too. Just never got to make Ernie Banks
or like Tony Gwynn. Did he ever?
Tony Gwynn. Well, he went to the World Series times.
Yeah,
they did go to the World Series, but someone like Ernie Banks never even made it. I don't even know if they ever made it to the playoffs when he was playing. Poor guy. Also, did you hear about these baseball hitters who were thrown out of games for gently drawing a line in the dirt? It's like to basically show up the umpire to kind of show, like, where's the strike zone here? I mean, these umpires are getting a little bit touchy, I know.
They're about to be replaced by AI, so I guess maybe they should be.
Okay, so in where we live here in Northern California, they have this is probably a few years, about at least 5 years ago, they actually had an umpire machine, and I believe it called balls and strikes, if I'm not mistaken. And it did a pretty decent job. Just you have a little hard time arguing with it and kicking dirt on it like Billy Martin used to do. But yeah, I guess you ruin the batteries if you kick dirt in it. And then the Washington Commanders being sold for $6 billion. I guess not too many people are upset about Mr. Snyder not being a part of it, huh, Russ?
This show, you can be the worst owner in professional sports and still, as long as you own a sports team, you never have to say you're sorry.
Yeah. So $6 billion will take care of any of those issues, I bet. And,
well, I'm sure the owners of the A's are licking their lips and knowing that they're going to get a huge reward despite being terrible owners and not deserving of a reward for how they've acted over all these years. Terrible to see a guy be such an awful human being get rewarded by $5 billion.
Yeah. Well, moving on. So Le'Veon Bell apologizes to fans for his 2018 holdout.
Too late. He was on my fantasy team. I drafted him number 1, and I'll hate his guts forever.
So this was after he had signed a $52 million contract with the Jets with $27 million guaranteed. That's always a smart thing to do when you can get a guaranteed contract, because unless you have ghost sleeves, you're going to get hurt potentially, right? Of course, we're not making any medical advice here that you won't get hurt if you wear ghost sleeves. But hey, by the way, guys, do a lot of people wear it as just preventative, like in case?
Absolutely.
Okay, so even
yeah. I mean, that's our default go-to use case. We'd rather not be ambulance chasers and fix the broken people. We'd rather them not get broken in the first place. So, and Tom spent the majority of his career trying to be in that lane rather than in the fixing people lane. But unfortunately, fixing people is a reality too, right? So
yeah, Tom. In fact, Tom, I was going to ask you, how did you get to the point where you were able to be the performance therapist for the 49ers?
Oh, that's an interesting road, but I'm just gonna simplify it and say a lot of education and just be really good at what you do.
Okay. Well, I got to think that there's a lot of competition for that. A lot of people would love to be in that position. That's not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Oh, and to add one more thing, when opportunities come, seize it. It's one of my biggest things now that I'm an entrepreneur as well. A lot of people get different opportunities. There's never a shortage of opportunities, but it's really what you do with that opportunity.
So just like what Yogi Berra said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. I like that.
Yep, pick one.
So back to you, Darren, for a minute. How long has Ghost Sleeves been around?
Yeah, we started it in 2019, launched in January 2020. May of 2020, realized, okay, plan B. No gyms, no courts, no sports, no public, display of Ghost Sleeves. So yeah, we spent most of 2020 putting it on, thousands of people just learning, right? Getting it out there and learning so that in 2021, it really could start to take off as we started getting back into sports and fitness and being outdoors again.
Wow. And I was looking back at your bio here. It says, the only thin optics, fold flat reading glasses that fit in the back of your mobile phone. I
gave you a demo. So YouTube, right? YouTube, here's my phone. And there's a little case here on the back of my phone. It's about 2 credit cards thick.
Yeah.
And like a magic trick, here they come.
Yeah.
So these glasses, they twist, and you open them up, you throw them on your nose. And if you need reading glasses, they're always with you because your mobile phone's always with you.
Okay, so they don't have
now I can read this small print on the phone or the menu in the restaurant, that kind of
Gotcha. Thing. So, but there's no. I noticed there's no things for the ears. It just strictly goes
exactly.
on. Okay.
Yeah, there are some glasses that they've made that do fold flat, that have the temples, But this, the original technology we created, it's been around since the 1800s. So is called pince-nez. Pince-nez, so it's French invention, and it's short for pinch nose. And so they literally do pinch your nose to stay on. But the old glasses, they were actual glass. They didn't stay on very well, so they had a tether to your ear. So when they fell off your nose, they wouldn't fall and break, right? Because they'd be on a chain to your ear.
Yeah.
These stay on a lot better.
Well, and I like the fact that you still use them. When did you invent that?
So my partner, Teddy Shalone, he invented I guess that was around 2014, 2015. And it took us about 3 years, 3 to 5 years. And we became like the #1 selling single reading glasses brand in the US.
Wow.
They're still sold globally. I have people traveling saying, I just saw them on a shelf in France somewhere. And, so they're sold and shipped to over 170 countries. And they're been fantastically successul because, I mean, you always need your reading glasses. And you're always losing them, right? That's the story.
And they have different, like 0.1, 0.05. Yeah. What'd you call them?
Exactly. They're strengths, it's so, from, like a 0.2, 0.1 up to like a 1.0, 1.5, 2.0.
I see you get all those different kinds.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Same idea as you go into CVS and pick your strength, right?
Gotcha. Okay. Hey guys, this is our last trivia question here. You ready? Talking about NFL career records. Who was the first player in history to record 200 sacks in their career? That's our trivia question. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments and some thoughts for the day. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman and our special guests, Darren Lancaster and Tom Zheng of Go Sleeves, the only kinesiology sleeve. I like that. Guys, who was the first player in history to record 200 sacks in their career?
Reggie White?
No, that was one of the potential choices. That would have been a good guess, but that's not right.
Oh boy, that was my thought.
Yeah, that was my guess too.
Damn.
Well, I'd love to say that's the answer, but no, Bruce Smith of the Bills.
My gosh.
Yeah. Remember those early 90s years? He crushed it. Unfortunately, lost 4 Super Bowls in a row? Right? They lost
another bad luck guy.
Yeah, really. The Giants, the first one, that was the one they had their best shot at too. The Scott Norwood, I think, missed it.
Right.
Yeah, so the Giants, Redskins, and then Dallas twice, if I remember correctly, all in a row. Wow. All right, guys from Go Sleeves, Darren Lancaster and Tom Zheng, thanks for being our guests. Are you guys ready for our thoughts of the day? Here we go. Why did the man love his barbecue? Because it was the grill of his dreams. And I'm not saying I hate my boss, but I would unplug his life support to charge my phone. So just saying. Okay.
You work for yourself.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. I gotta rethink that one, don't I? All right. Guys, again, thanks for joining us on Sports Econ 101. And audience, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
So long.